Welcome to my YouTube channel Wise Whispers, where silence speaks.
The Silent Eye in the Ceiling. My name is Frank and I am 60 years old. At my age, you think you've already faced the worst life can throw at you. You believe the surprises are over, that the storms have passed. But sometimes the most frightening moments arrive quietly, hiding in the smallest places. For me, it was inside a smoke detector. And the moment my daughter slipped and almost revealed the truth, my entire world changed. It was a quiet Thursday evening when I first noticed something strange. The house was peaceful. My daughter Emily had just finished washing the dishes and I was sitting in my old leather chair in the living room. The television murmured softly in the background, but I wasn't really watching it. At 60 years old, silence had become something I appreciated. Emily had moved back in with me 6 months earlier after her divorce. She was 32, strong, independent, but I could see the pain she tried to hide behind her smiles. As a father, that kind of pain cuts deeper than your own. She would often say, "Dad, I hate feeling like a burden." And I would always reply the same way. "You could never be a burden to me, sweetheart." That night, while leaning back in my chair, my eyes drifted toward the ceiling. And that's when I noticed it. The smoke detector looked wrong. At first, I couldn't explain it. I had installed that detector myself years ago, but something about it seemed different. There was a tiny black dot on the side. A dot that definitely had not been there before. My heart gave a slow, uneasy beat. I stood up, grabbed a chair, and climbed carefully so I could look closer. The dot wasn't just a mark. It was a lens. A camera lens. For a moment, I just stared at it, my mind struggling to accept what my eyes were telling me. Someone had hidden a camera in my smoke detector. Someone had been watching my home. Watching me. Watching my daughter. A cold feeling crept down my spine. But instead of panicking, I did something strange. I climbed down. And I said nothing. You might wonder why. Why wouldn't I call the police immediately? Why wouldn't I tear the device off the ceiling? The answer is simple. If someone placed that camera there, they would notice the moment it disappeared. And I wanted to know who. So I decided to pretend I had never seen it. That night I barely slept. Every creak of the house sounded different, every shadow looked suspicious. I started noticing things I had ignored before. My back door sometimes wasn't fully locked. Tools in the garage were slightly moved. Once I even found a footprint near the side gate. Someone had been around my house. Maybe more than once. But the worst thought of all was this. Maybe the person wasn't a stranger. The next morning, Emily was making coffee in the kitchen. She smiled when she saw me. "Morning, Dad." "Morning, kiddo." I studied her face for a moment, wondering if she had noticed anything strange, but she seemed completely normal. Carefree. I decided not to tell her yet. I didn't want to scare her. Instead, I quietly began observing everything. I started locking every door carefully. I checked the windows twice each night. And most importantly, I kept watching that smoke detector. Days passed. Then one evening something happened that made my stomach twist. Emily's phone rang while she was cooking. She glanced at the screen and stepped outside to answer it. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but through the window I heard part of the conversation. Her voice sounded nervous. "No, not tonight." A pause. "I told you my dad is home." Another pause. "Please just stop." Then she hung up. When she came back inside, she looked shaken. I pretended not to notice. But inside my mind, questions began racing. Was someone bothering her? Was someone threatening her? And was that connected to the camera? 3 nights later, everything finally exploded. It was almost midnight. I was in the living room reading when I heard a loud thud from the hallway. Then Emily's voice. "Dad." I rushed toward the sound. She had slipped on the wooden floor near the stairs and fallen hard. "Emily," I shouted. She was sitting on the floor, holding her ankle. "I'm okay," she said, trying to laugh through the pain. But as I helped her stand, something slipped out of her pocket and slid across the floor. A small electronic device. My heart froze. It looked exactly like the transmitter part of a wireless camera system. Emily saw it too. Her face went pale. "Dad, I can explain." And suddenly, everything inside me tightened. Because I already knew what she was going to say. We sat at the kitchen table for a long time before either of us spoke. Finally, I said quietly, "Emily, is that camera in the smoke detector yours?" Tears filled her eyes. "Yes." The word hit me like a hammer. For a moment, I didn't even know what to feel. Confusion. Hurt. Anger. Why? I asked softly. She wiped her face. "I wasn't spying on you, Dad, I swear." "Then what were you doing?" She took a shaky breath. "After my divorce, my ex-husband wouldn't leave me alone. Now it started to make sense. He kept showing up at places I went, he knew things he shouldn't know, I thought he might try to break into the house. So you installed cameras?" She nodded. "I didn't tell you because I didn't want to worry you." I leaned back in my chair, trying to process everything. "So the camera was for protection?" "Yes." "But who were you talking to on the phone the other day?" Her eyes dropped. "My ex." The room went silent. Then she whispered something that made my blood run cold. "He said he's been watching the house." I felt my fists clench. "Watching how?" She looked at me with fear. "He said he knows where the cameras are." That meant only one thing. Someone had discovered the system. And if her ex knew, he might be planning something. The next morning I called the police. They inspected the house and the camera. What they discovered shocked all of us. The camera Emily installed had been tampered with. Someone had connected to the system remotely, meaning someone had access to the footage. Her ex-husband was immediately investigated. And 2 days later, police arrested him. They found evidence that he had hacked into the camera system and had been monitoring the house for weeks. He was planning to confront Emily. Possibly worse. If Emily hadn't slipped and dropped that transmitter, we might never have uncovered the truth. That night, after everything was over, Emily sat beside me on the porch. The air was quiet and calm again. "I'm sorry, Dad," she said softly. "For what?" "For not telling you." I looked at her and smiled. "Next time we face things together." She nodded. And for the first time in months, I saw peace in her eyes. Now at 60 years old, I've learned something important. Silence can sometimes reveal the truth. But family should never face fear alone. Because when danger hides in the shadows, the strongest protection isn't cameras. It's trust. Moral of the story. Secrets meant to protect others can sometimes create more danger. The strongest safety comes from honesty, trust, and standing together as a family.